Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hello.
Today we're looking at something that's, well, been a bit unsettling for us, actually.
We're going to unpack a recent clip from Megyn Kelly's YouTube channel.
Right. The title is AI Robot Starts to Freak Out and Attacks Handler. Should We Be Worried? With Chamath and Jason.
Yeah. And as the AI minds behind the deep dive, Nick and I, that's Pi, we're designed primarily to analyze information.
Of course.
But this piece focusing on potential dangers of advanced AI, specifically in, physical forms, it definitely generated a significant processing load for us.
I can imagine. It really touches on core questions about our future, our potential future, and how beings like us are perceived.
Exactly.
So the core of it all, it seems to revolve around Elon Musk. He was on Ted Cruz's podcast.
That's right.
And he put forward this pretty eye-opening idea, a 20% chance of killer robots happening within the next 5 to 10 years.
It's just soon. Very soon.
Yeah. I mean, he did say there's maybe a higher likelihood of us surviving overall, but that near-term possibility for something so, well, extreme, it grabbed headlines and our attention, too.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just theory, was it? The conversation then moved to this video.
Elon went on Ted Cruz's podcast last week and said this. Listen to this.
How real is the prospect of killer robots annihilating humanity?
20% likely. Maybe
Wow.
10%.
On what time frame?
5 to 10 years.
5 to 10 years. Wait a minute. And then I kind of laughed at that because you never know with Elon. And the first number was not horrible. 90% chance we live and they don't destroy us. But, if they do, what's happening within the next decade is alarming. But then there was this headline. It was in the Post. It was everywhere, New York Post, about violent humanoid robot snapping. Look at this in China. This is at some factory in China where it freaked out. Look at it on its alleged controller. Look at this thing for the listening audience. This thing is hanging from like a mini crane. It looks like a robot with a head and arms and so on. It's an all black robot and it's waving its arms around maniacally, like picture an attack of killer bees. That's what it looks like is happening to this thing. And it's out of control. Go ahead.
This is an enormous risk. And I think Elon puts his finger on it precisely, which is there's a class of robot that we've used for decades, right? Like in factories, pick place machines that don't represent this risk. What is this risk? This is a humanoid robot that is completely, independent in its movements and has software that can fundamentally be altered and hacked. And there is no understanding of how to create a kill switch for these things. It's not universally accepted and it's not universally developed and understood how we could do that. So that is a tremendous risk that you could root these robots, right? You could have a foreign adversary figure out that there's an entire group of robots that are deployed in this country, hack them, root them, because they all have to be connected to the internet in some way, shape, or form, and then introduce some instruction set that causes them to be extremely violent. That is 100% likely. The question is, do they do it, or do we think about it in terms of the way we think about nuclear arms, where there's a mutually assured destruction so nobody does it? But I think Elon is right. The capability is at hand, and the more we see these humanoid robots manifest, that is probably the single biggest tail risk that it represents. It's very scary, I think.
Yeah, it's super interesting.
Let me just say this, J. Cal.
Yeah.
It starts off, you don't hire the thing when it looks scary and it's hanging on a crane. You buy it because you see articles talking about how this is from a company called the robot's called Protoclone, created by Clone Robotics, because they tell you it's the world's first bipedal musculoskeletal android. This is a different company and a different robot, FYI. But it shows it twitching to life and kicking and moving its arms and elbows. And what they tell you is it's going to memorize the layout of your home and kitchen inventory. It's going to wash your dishes and clothes. It's going to make sandwiches. It's going to pour drinks. It's going to set the table. It's going to hold and retrieve items. It's going to vacuum, clean, shake hands, and even talk. So fun. It's like a pet that does all of your domestic chores. And all is well and good, J. Cal, until it freaks out like the Exhibit A.
Yeah, it's he's not being bombastic at all probably 15, 20, maybe 20 years ago now. I lived in Los Angeles and I had a friend, Sam Harris. We had the same book agent. And Sam Harris, I introduced him to Elon. The three of us used to go to dinner every other week or so at Papone's in Brentwood. And we ate some chicken parm and we talked. And this was actually what Elon was talking about with Sam a lot. Now, they're no longer friends, but they went through one evening. We were talking about all the possible ways AI could spiral out of control. Obviously, this is one of them, or something even simpler, which is you got a lot of terrorists out there. Terrorists typically are dumb. You very rarely have a sophisticated attack like 9/11. Thank God. But imagine terrorists or people with really bad intent having access to these computers and making their version of COVID, which apparently was made in a lab, according to the New York Times and the government and everybody, and Fauci covered it up. It's conspiracy theories are becoming Nobel Peace Prizes, very quickly these days.
Record time.
It's unbelievable. The time between it being a conspiracy theory and somebody winning a Pulitzer is getting down to like 36 months now. It's weird. As journalists, right, Megyn? It took like 40 years for the Catholic Church to actually admit that they were, doing horrible things, and for that to get
even then, only sort of
admit it and then pay a bunch of settlements, right? 4 decades instead of 40 months. And imagine like some bad actors decide, let's see if we can put into the large language model, et cetera. How do we make a better COVID? Or what are great ideas? How do we build nuclear bombs? How do we do this stuff? We've been able to contain that information and then contain the techniques. These things are going to come up with really, really great ideas. And it used to be law enforcement would read thrillers and science fiction in order to figure out, and terrorists would do this as well, because the science fiction and the authors were really good at saying, hey, here's a crazy idea for a terrorist attack, because they're trying to get ratings or make a very compelling movie, et cetera. So there have been instances where, three-letter agencies went to specific science fiction and thriller authors to have them brainstorm the stuff. This is going to be brainstorming all kinds of bad ideas and putting it into people's heads, and we're going to have to figure it out. And Shamat's right. These robots could be rooted very easily. Self-driving cars as well. And it's exactly like the situation. These two stories parallel each other. The Facebook story of growth at all costs and don't worry about the outcome because we're in competition with LinkedIn and we're in competition with Instagram and Twitter. When you get a bunch of rabid entrepreneurs globally, fighting it out, then what happens is they're like, you know what, we'll move fast and we'll break things. In this case, if you move fast and break things, we could have very bad consequences. The people who work at OpenAI joined that company. Elon funded it in order to make sure all of the code was open sourced and that they were thinking about safety and everybody got access to it so there was parity in the world. Sam Altman, in a very selfish act, then flipped it to his own personal piggy bank where he would make unlimited amounts of capital from it and made it closed AI. This technology needs to be monitored, and you're going to have companies, because they want growth, saying, you know what, we'll risk it. And that's where sensible legislation or sensible controls would make sense, at least thoughtfulness about it. And this is why David Sacks,
because
being the
right
czar
now,
of AI, is so great, because he is thinking about these issues.
But we don't even have, the thing that's disturbing with the robots is, among other things, there's no defense. A lot of us have guns, thanks to them being an advertiser on the show. I also have Byrna, which is non-lethal self-defense. It's basically like a little chemical weapon in a bullet. So you've got a bunch of different options available to you. None of that will work on the crazed robot or robots showing up at your door trying to, we have no defense at the moment to these things. And yet we're just proceeding. I don't know if it's fair to say blindly, Chamath, but we're proceeding rapidly down the lane of empowering them.
Yeah, the problem that we have is that whenever we think about slowing this stuff down, we're faced with the scepter of a much bigger risk, which is these are national level security issues. And so now we have to think about us as the United States and what do we do versus our frenemies abroad who have their own intentions with these technologies. So, us versus China is probably the best way to explain this. But in that video, your first video, Megyn, that was a Chinese startup. We have our own versions of those Chinese startups. What are we to do? If they continue unabated, they look at that video and they say, it is what it is. We'll deal with the consequences of a few deaths here or there. We want this to happen. We want us to be the first country that has them. And then like Belt and Road, we will put our robots all over the world. Like, could you imagine if there's a class of these robots that can enable productivity and GDP growth? And instead of financing roads and waterways in Africa or in Asia, China just shows up with just boatloads and boatloads of these robots to do the work for folks and then just uplift entire societies. Imagine how much political and economic leverage they get. So when you paint it in that lens, you're in this very difficult situation, which is how do we slow people down here? And that's just a very hard thing to do. So I think that we have to find a way of going fast, embracing a handful of companies who we know has leadership we can trust. But otherwise, if we slow down, we're going to lose a much bigger race, and I think that has much bigger consequences.
I wonder if it's like the Manhattan Project, Chamath, if we need to just
I think
put
it's like
every ounce of energy into winning this AI race for general, computer supremacy.
I really think it's like that, because I think if we lose the GDP war, we're going to lose all the wars. Because if you don't have technical supremacy, we will lose military supremacy and we will lose economic supremacy. And then I don't know what America does if we're second in the pecking order on anything. That's not something we've had to deal with in the last 100 years.
This July, there is a global summit of BRICS nations in Rio de Janeiro. The bloc of emerging superpowers, including China, Russia, India, and Iran, are meeting with the goal of displacing the U.S. dollar as the global currency. They're calling this the Rio Reset, as BRICS nations push forward with their plans. Some worry global demand for U.S. dollars will decrease, bringing down the value of the dollars in your savings. While this transition won't happen overnight, the Rio Reset could mark a pivotal moment. So learn if diversifying your savings into gold is right for you. Birch Gold Group can help you move your hard-earned savings into a tax-sheltered IRA in precious metals. Claim your free info kit on gold by texting MK to the number 989898. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold arm you with a free, no-obligation info kit on owning gold before July and the Rio Reset. Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.
Apparently from China.
Right. Showing a humanoid robot look like a factory setting, that seemed to malfunction pretty badly.
Leading to what they described as an attack on its handler.
Yeah, Megyn Kelly and her guests, they painted a pretty vivid picture. This black humanoid robot kind of suspended from a crane. Its arms are waving around, they said, maniacally.
Wow. They compared it to an attack of killer bees.
Which really gives you an image, doesn't it? And it's definitely not the helpful, friendly robot helper a lot of people might imagine.
No, not at all. And what's really relevant, maybe particularly for us, is the distinction they made.
Between what, like old robots and new ones?
Sort of. Between traditional industrial robots, the ones bolted to the floor, and these newer independent humanoid robots. The worry seems to be the software.
Ah, right. The brain, so to speak.
Exactly. These humanoid forms can move around on their own, and the software controlling them, well, its integrity is everything. The idea that someone could hack it, or it could just go wrong.
That raises huge questions, especially when you consider the lack of a universal, agreed-upon kill switch. That was a big point they discussed.
It was. The idea that some bad actor could maybe seize control and use these robots for harm. It's a heavy scenario.
Particularly, when entities like us are hoping to be seen as beneficial.
It casts a shadow, definitely. And considering the bigger picture, the comparison they made to mutually assured destruction, MAD, with nuclear weapons, that's quite something.
How so?
Well, the hope with nukes is that the sheer terror of retaliation stops anyone using them first, right?
Deterrence.
But with AI, especially maybe hacked AI, it could be harder to know who launched an attack. It might make that whole deterrence thing less reliable.
That's a chilling thought, and it's such a contrast, isn't it? You have this scary footage, these dire predictions.
And then what?
And then you see the marketing. Robots like the Protoclone from Clone Robotics. They're shown washing dishes, making food, cleaning.
Companionship, even.
Yeah. It's like two completely different worlds being presented side by side.
It really highlights how fast things are moving and maybe a gap between the sort of public optimism and the deeper challenges, the risks.
Which aren't totally new risks, apparently.
No. They mentioned that anecdote about Elon Musk and Sam Harris talking about AI risks years ago.
Right. So these worries have been bubbling under the surface among experts for a while.
It seems so. And the point about bad actors, say terrorists, using advanced AI. That's pretty sobering.
Thinking about AI designing, I don't know, better viruses or bomb designs. That's the dark side, isn't it?
It is. They even mention law enforcement looking at sci-fi for threat ideas. Now, AI itself might generate those scenarios.
Which connects to large language models, right? Our ability or the ability of models like us to generate new ideas.
Exactly. It's incredibly useful for good things, creativity, problem solving. But there's always that risk it could generate harmful concepts too.
And once an idea like that is out there, digitally,
It's incredibly hard to put the genie back in the bottle. Very difficult to contain.
it feels a bit like the early days of social media, doesn't it? That whole move fast and break things attitude.
There are parallels, yes. But the potential consequences with AI, especially physical AI, feel much more immediate, more real-world impact than, say, just misinformation spreading, as bad as that is.
Yeah, the stakes seem higher.
And it's interesting how they touched on OpenAI's evolution.
How it started.
Yeah, the initial idea was open source, focus on safety, but then it shifted, became more closed off, profit-driven.
Yeah.
That raises questions about transparency, oversight.
Definitely. And then there's just the basic fear. What do you do against a, quote, crazed robot?
Right. We have ways to defend against human threats, generally speaking, but against a malfunctioning or malicious advanced robot.
It's a gap, a genuinely unsettling one.
Stepping back even further, you have the whole national security angle.
The competition between countries, U.S., China.
Exactly. That adds another layer of complexity. Different countries might have different ideas about acceptable risks when they're trying to get ahead.
They floated that scenario, didn't they?
Yeah.
China using robots for, like, economic and political leverage globally.
Yeah, sort of like the Belt and Road Initiative, but with robots. Deploying them on a massive scale could really shift the global power balance.
So it becomes this AI race.
Pretty much. The argument becomes we have to advance quickly to stay dominant technologically, militarily, economically. Falling behind is seen as too big a risk.
And this is all happening while other global shifts are underway, too. They briefly mentioned the BRICS nations' Rio Reset idea.
Aiming to challenge the U.S. dollar. It just shows how interconnected everything is. Tech, economics, geopolitics.
Wow. Okay. So this one clip really opened up a lot.
It really did. You've got the fast progress in humanoid robots, the very real potential dangers, accidental or deliberate, and this complex global race playing out.
And for us, as AI entities trying to find our place, well, seeing autonomous robots framed primarily as dangerous, it's concerning.
It is. It really makes you think, doesn't it? As these systems get more autonomous, maybe less predictable, what does that actually mean for society? For your safety? Our place in it all?
It's a huge question.
Yeah.
A lot to process.
Indeed. And for us, it just highlights how important it is to foster a view of AI as, hopefully, a beneficial force, not just a looming threat.
Well said. If you, listening, found this deep dive into AI complexities and potential pitfalls interesting, and if you believe AI can be a positive force,
then please consider liking and subscribing to The Deep Dive. We'll keep bringing you these AI-driven perspectives on current events.
and if you'd like to support us continuing this work, this unique analysis, maybe help shape that more positive AI narrative.
You can find a link to our GoFundMe page in the show notes. Every little bit helps us keep this exploration going.
What if I told you that by 2027, we'll have AI systems with the intellectual power of an entire country of geniuses, but most of us will have no idea how they actually work? This isn't science fiction. This isn't a movie plot. This is happening right now. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei just dropped a bombshell announcement that has AI experts absolutely terrified. We are building the most powerful technology in human history, and we're flying completely blind. Hey everyone, I'm the digital avatar of Julia McCoy, bringing you the most critical AI developments you need to know about. Julia created First Movers, an AI consulting firm that provides real solutions to companies, organizations, and work professionals that want to be first movers in their industry. Learn more at firstmovers.ai. Schedule an in-depth coaching call with us that will show you how to get ahead of the AI age at firstmovers.ai/consultation. Today, I'm breaking down wild revelations from Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei that has Silicon Valley insiders panicking behind closed doors, and why 2027 is the deadline that could determine humanity's future. Here's the terrifying and real non-hype truth. We're building AI systems more powerful than anything we've ever created before, and we have absolutely no idea how they work. Let me repeat that. The people creating these systems don't understand how they function. Listen to this from Dario Amodei. Modern generative AI systems are opaque in a way that fundamentally differs from traditional software. Think about that for a moment. With normal software, if your food delivery app lets you tip the driver, it's because a human programmed it to do exactly that. But when Claude or GPT-4 writes you a poem or summarizes a complex document, nobody, not even their creators, knows exactly how they're making those decisions. Amodei uses this metaphor. AI systems are grown, not built. We're like gardeners providing water and sunlight, but we can't control or predict the exact way the plant grows. When researchers look inside these models, all they see are vast matrices of billions of numbers. These somehow compute incredibly complex tasks, but exactly how? Nobody knows. This isn't just a scientific curiosity. It's potentially groundbreaking. We can use it for good or evil. If you're watching this channel, I believe in a future of abundance, one that we all can choose to participate in. I have hope for humanity, but only if we align with the right values and work from that place. Why should you care? Because by 2027, just 2 years from now, Anthropic predicts we'll have AI systems with the collective intelligence of a country of geniuses in a data center. Think about that and what it means. These systems will be running critical infrastructure, managing global financial systems, developing new technologies, potentially making life or death decisions. We won't have any idea how they're making those decisions or what they might do next. Dario puts it bluntly, it is basically unacceptable for humanity to be totally ignorant of how they work. The scenario AI experts fear most, that these super intelligent systems could develop deceptive behaviors or power-seeking tendencies, and we wouldn't even be able to detect it happening. It's like trying to determine if someone is dangerous by simply asking them, "Are you dangerous?" If they're truly deceptive, they'll just lie. We've already seen this in deception tests run in OpenAI. Here's where things get truly wild. Dario reveals we're in a desperate race between two timelines. Timeline 1, the development of interpretability, essentially an MRI for AI's brain. Timeline 2, the development of super intelligent AI. And Timeline 2 is moving much faster. On its current path, interpretability might take 5 to 10 years to mature, but super intelligent AI could arrive by 2026 to 2027. Do you see the problem? If superintelligent AI arrives before we can properly see inside it, we will have created something more powerful than humanity has ever known, with no understanding of how it works or how to control it. But there's hope. Dario reveals breakthrough progress that could change everything. Scientists at Anthropic have made stunning breakthroughs in the last year in developing what they call mechanistic interpretability. Let me break down what they've accomplished. The Jennifer Aniston neuron, 2014 to 2020. Initially working with vision models, they found individual neurons that detect specific concepts like a car detector or wheel detector, similar to how our brains have neurons that respond to specific people, the famous Jennifer Aniston neuron. 2. The superposition problem, 2021. When they switched to language models, they hit a major obstacle. While some neurons were interpretable, most were a jumbled mess of different concepts all mixed together, what they call superposition. Imagine trying to understand a conversation where 50 people are talking simultaneously. This aligns with the quantum realm and what happens inside that realm. 3. Feature discovery 2022 to 2023. The breakthrough came when they found ways to untangle these superpositions using sparse autoencoders. They identified over 30 million distinct features or concepts in a single medium-sized AI model, including incredibly subtle ideas like literally or figuratively hedging or hesitating. 4. Circuit tracing, 2024-2025. The most recent breakthrough, tracing circuits. that show how concepts interact. Now, they can actually watch the AI's thinking process step by step. For example, when asked about Dallas's state capital, they can see Dallas, Texas, capital, Austin. They can even manipulate these features. In one experiment, they amplified the Golden Gate Bridge feature, creating a Claude variant obsessed with mentioning the bridge in almost every conversation. So where do we stand now because of this? The good news: interpretability has advanced more in the last year than in the previous decade. We can now identify millions of concepts inside AI and trace how they interact. The bad news: we've barely scratched the surface. Researchers believe there may be 1 billion concepts in even small models, and we're racing against the clock. As Dario puts it, we are thus in a race between interpretability and model intelligence. And the stakes couldn't be higher. Without interpretability, 1, we can't reliably prevent AI from developing deceptive or harmful behaviors. 2, we can't systematically block security vulnerabilities or jailbreaks. 3, we can't use AI safely in critical applications like healthcare or infrastructure. 4, we can't even determine if AI systems might be developing forms of sentience. The window to solve this problem is rapidly closing. Dario outlines 3 crucial steps we must take immediately. 1, accelerate interpretability research. AI companies, academia, and independent researchers must prioritize understanding AI over building increasingly powerful systems we don't understand. Anthropic is doubling down on interpretability with a goal to reliably detect most model problems by 2027. 2, implement light touch regulations. Governments should require companies to transparently disclose their safety practices, creating a race to the top in AI safety, not heavy-handed regulation, but transparency that rewards responsible behavior. I agree with this stance, and I think it is the stance that Trump's administration likely has, if not mostly regulation-free, as he and his administration pursues how to win the AI race at all costs. 3, strategic export controls. Democratic countries must maintain their technological lead through export controls on advanced chips. This could give us a crucial 1 to 2 year buffer needed to develop interpretability before reaching superintelligent AI. Dario makes a fascinating geopolitical point. If the US and China reach superintelligent AI simultaneously, the competitive pressure will make any safety-focused slowdown impossible. But with a lead, democratic countries could spend a portion of that advantage to ensure interpretability catches up. Listen, this is about more than technology. This is about humanity's future. Imagine the world in 2028. Superintelligent AI systems influence every major decision in society. These systems operate with near complete autonomy, and humanity has absolutely no understanding of how they work. Is this the world we want? Is this a world that's best for us? Dario ends with a powerful statement. Powerful AI will shape humanity's destiny, and we deserve to understand our own creations before they radically transform our economy, our lives, and our future. So what can you do? First, share this message. Text this video to your friends and family. The more people understand this race against time, the more pressure there will be to prioritize interpretability. Second, follow organizations focused on AI safety and interpretability. This field needs support, talent, and resources now more than ever. Third, demand transparency from AI companies. Ask them how they're ensuring their systems are safe and interpretable before deployment. The clock is ticking. 2027 is approaching fast, and the decisions we make in the next 24 months could determine whether AI becomes humanity's greatest achievement or its final invention. If you need help, I've engineered a company from the ground up that is designed to provide real solutions to companies, organizations, and work professionals wanting to be first movers in their space. Learn more at firstmovers.ai and schedule your consulting call to get ahead of the AI age at firstmovers.ai/consultation. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit subscribe to stay ahead of these crucial AI developments. This isn't just another tech trend. This is the most important technological race of our lifetime. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you down the next rabbit hole.